Bitcoin breaks through, back up through. Huge resistance back into a bullish pattern with a $12,400 resistance. The question is right now, Bitcoin has a breakout target, but will the bulls do what they need to do to make it happen? In this video, we will discuss. What's up, everyone? Thanks for coming by. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, turn those notification bells on. Got a little distracted in that intro. Apologize. What's up, everybody? Look at this. This is Bitcoin on the 6-hour chart. I want to just really discuss what just happened. I said 12,400. I'm not going to tease you here. There's a $12,400 target on this symmetrical triangle we've been tracking for a while now. There's also a $6,700 bearish target. So just keep that in mind. However, this is going to be kind of a bullish talking point type of video. So I want to go over to Bitcoin real quick on this chart that we've been tracking, right? There's been a long story. It's kind of a messy looking chart, but it's kind of organized chaos. We have this long-term rising wedge that Bitcoin broke out of to its target 10,000 perfectly, right? Came back down to that trend line not once, but twice. And in process of that happening, Bitcoin has formed this symmetrical triangle that we've been tracking for Bitcoin. So to really pull this in and talk about what has transpired in the last 3 days, I want to take a quick look at a clip I did the other day in regards to what is happening right now. So check this out. Often you have a busted pattern. A busted pattern is when you have a break through a trend line, right? And it doesn't hit its target. You get a pullback. You start trading back in the pattern, and you actually get an opposite break of what you originally had, meaning we'd get a bullish break. And those busted patterns are even more powerful than just a regular bullish breakout to begin. So we broke to the downside. Let's zoom in here now and talk about this. We broke to the downside the other day through that lower trend line right here. This was the break. Did the video right here. Talked about Bitcoin potentially breaking back up and through the pattern. It has happened. That's bullish. Right now in the short term, we're trading at 92.30, and it's bullish that we broke through because this could lead into a busted symmetrical triangle here on this 6-hour chart. Now, I talk about immediate resistance at the beginning of this video because we're at the 6-hour 50 moving average resistance, and that is the most critical area. I mean, as of tonight, May 27th, if you want to watch a critical area, see what Bitcoin does here. Do we break above it in the short term? Do we trade sideways? What is going to happen with this current 6-hour candle that Bitcoin is in on this chart? How is it going to close? It is the most short-term critical question to have answered in the next few hours here. So that's the most immediate thing to watch right now in Bitcoin. And if you're watching this video after this 6-hour candle closes, you'll already have the answer. So going over to this chart, I want to discuss another area that we need to be on the lookout for. Now that is this. This is a Fibonacci. It's the same exact 6-hour chart. It's a Fibonacci from our swing high that we previously had at a 50 moving average 6-hour resistance. This was back in May 22nd, 5 days ago, to our swing low as we broke through that lower trend line. And we have our Fibonacci resistance. This is what I've been watching in the last 2 days or so, wondering if Bitcoin's going to see resistance right here. Now, currently, Bitcoin has broken above that resistance. This is short-term resistance. These are stepping stones. Bitcoin, to get into that bullish atmosphere to put in those bullish confirmations, requires stepping stones. There's all these little resistances on its way, right? So here's one of the first ones after this huge long-term trend line Bitcoin broke back through. So this Fibonacci retracement, the 618 to 786, broken. You can see immediate resistance at that 50 moving average we just talked about. This symmetrical triangle, very short term, that Bitcoin fell into in the last few days has a breakout target of $94.71. Let's just call it $9,500. That is above the 50 moving average. there's a very, very strong possibility that tonight Bitcoin continues in this upward trend that it's currently in and continues to that $6,500 area or so. That's what I'm mainly looking for tonight to see what happens. But for that to happen, Bitcoin has to break this 50 moving average. One interesting thing I wanted to talk about. This is a Coinbase chart. We've done a lot of tracking on this Coinbase chart in regards to what Bitcoin has done with this lower trend line, right? Falling out of this symmetrical triangle and then coming back into it. Interestingly enough, I have to note this because this is important. Charts and different exchanges are different. This is a chart from Bitstamp. This has Bitcoin never falling through the bottom trend line of the symmetrical triangle. You can see Bitcoin in the other chart basically fell through and came back in. Now we're using the same exact trend line. We're using a trend line from mid-March, right? This is that long-term rising wedge that Bitcoin broke out of. I think it's just a really solid trend line to use. And you can see on this chart, the Bitstamp chart, Bitcoin didn't fall below it. And we are still in a very similar symmetrical triangle. You see a breakout target bullish, 12,400, and a bearish breakout 6,700. I'm sorry, everybody. We are right in the middle of this, right? And there's been no confirmations yet, really, on either side. So at the end of the day, take this data for what it's worth. Make your own decisions on what you're going to do. But what I want to talk about is this break is very close to happening. We have 73% to the apex of this triangle right here around May 29th. That's 2 days away. We're currently 67% to the apex of the triangle. We know, according to at least this site, this is thepatternSite.com. This is Bukowski. He's done a lot of research on different patterns. I follow him closely. We know, according to his data, upward 60% of the time for symmetrical triangles, 73% of the way to the apex of the triangle. So again, 2 days away from being 73%. That's average, right? We could be sooner. We could be later. But we're getting very close, I think, for a breakout either way. By the way, a bearish break, 74% to the apex. So same thing, probably 3 days away from that potentially happening if we break to the downside. So I think there's a really big move for Bitcoin coming in the coming days. Either way, if we eye up this $12,400 target, guess what? Bitcoin, you can see it on this zoomed out long-term weekly chart, $12,400 target. You can see this long-term symmetrical triangle that many people are watching right now. You can see the upper trend line of that triangle right around 11,200. So a breakout of this smaller triangle to 12,400 leaves Bitcoin trading right around, let's place it right around here, and that is through the upper trend line of this long-term symmetrical triangle extending back to December 2017. Could we be at the very beginning stages of potentially entering that bull market stage, that bull market phase that everybody wants? It's a possibility, but at the same time, we also know there's always a possibility for downside. I just want to chart it for you real quick. We have that swing low right here in March to our swing high that we previously had. If Bitcoin fails, even if Bitcoin fails at this critical 50 moving average on the 6 hour and we bounce back down through this lower trend line and we're talking about a bearish scenario, this is what it looks like on the weekly chart. There is a bearish scenario for Bitcoin to revisit this lower trend line, 618 to 786, 6,300 to $5,100. And if you remember, our breakout target just above that here on this symmetrical triangle, 67. Everything is together. Bitcoin is about to make a move one way or the other. I hope with where Bitcoin is right now, you're comfortable with what you're doing with your portfolio, how you're accumulating, what you're getting ready to do. That's what technical analysis is all about. But right now, keep your eyes peeled on the charts because we are getting close to a move. I appreciate all of you cruising by today. If you're here right now, you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you as part of the channel. Want to note, Tech Lords in the chart said daily chart looking good. I agree. Right now, got to remember, we have the 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average. Bitcoin with a couple higher highs above that 50 moving average cross, right? All the way since March. And if we look at the daily, the daily stock RSI, this quicker moving momentum oscillator at the bottom of my screen, just about coming out of oversold. So we're not in overbought. Things are looking good. If we're looking at the slower moving RSI, we're right around the 50 line, a little bit above the 50, nowhere near overbought. So there's a ton of room for upside for Bitcoin. So let's see what happens. I appreciate you coming by. I hope you're having a good night. I will see you in the next video. God bless.